All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Weak, pathetic, and a failed presidency. That's how Gavin Newsom is describing the orange tub of goo occupying the White House now. But he went further. He pulled out both guns. He's fighting fire with fire. And Republicans don't like it. Trump doesn't like it. Gavin Newsom has been trolling the hell out of Donald Trump for the last 72 hours. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the playbook. Ridicule him, engage in humorous dialogue and feedback with him, and piss him right off. That is the way we will finally realize that the emperor has no clothes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. California is the star of the show, but also joining me, the Uptown point guard and our senior political analyst, Brock Ganeles, joins us now from high atop the Hudson River Valley overlooking New York City. Brock, you know what? Gavin Newsom is my hero. He just vaulted himself right up there next to Kamala for the next Democratic presidential nominee in my book.
All right, let's get to that part in a second.
Okay.
Social media team has been so on point with the all caps tweets and the thank you for the attention to this matter, and just like showing like the buffoonery of Trump by like putting up a mirror to how stupid his shit looks when somebody else types it. But he does have the firepower behind him because he's got so many congressional seats to play with there. And I've always been surprised actually at how many Republican seats there are in California, but like the middle of the state. But it could be pretty easy to gerrymander to just turn some of those districts on their side, and the coast would outweigh Central California, and you'd have like all kinds of districts that would be like 60-40 instead of having a bunch of 80-20s like Pelosi's district and a bunch of 50 that sit in the middle of the state where the GOP ekes it out and gets jokers like Kevin McCarthy and what's his name, Devin Nunes and some of the other clowns that have come. But yeah, I love what Gavin's doing. You said he brought out the big guns. It was interesting that they tried to intimidate his crowd with some military force there. I'm not sure it was that DHS, ICE, National Guard. I don't know who it was, but I saw some photos and video of some people walking around with some big guns, maybe to try to stare him down a bit. I doubt he cared. Didn't sound like he cared. Yeah, didn't sound like he cared. That would be ICE then, right? The man that we know ICE by the masks. It's good showing. It's working. I thought that maybe Newsom had written himself out of the equation when he did what I thought were those tone-deaf and idiotic Charlie Kirk appearances and some of that right-wing shit that he was doing. But he's calculated. He wants to be president.
Right.
And this is a smart move, and it's working.
Right. His ex-wife has got to be absolutely livid right now. She has been a Trumper. She's undergone some sort of incredible just morphing. Her face, she does not look the same at all. I guess, everything Trump touches dies, but man, she looks a mess. And, not that that has anything to do with anything, but again, I think this is going to make Democrats stand up and take notice and say, hey, holy shit, I better start taking some sort of action and fighting back, because that's what 65, 70% of Democratic voters want. They want us to fight back. Now, my beloved Michelle Obama reminded us that when they go low, we go high. But unfortunately, things have turned into when they go low, we go fuck all that shit and we fight back, because that's what has to be done. You have to meet them where they are. And if they want to play in the dirt, God damn it, let's get dirty.
We're going to have to. We're going to have to. And it's taken some time. But even Chuck Schumer threw out an F-bomb today when asked what he thought about Trump wanting to extend the National Guard stay in D.C., which I guess needs some congressional approval. And Chuck Schumer did it no effing way. So even he the sleepiest, oldest, tamest guy out there is realizing that the decorum and the playing the high road just hasn't worked. And right now it's a street fight, and you're going to have to get your suit and tie dirty. So, like,
Absolutely. I mean, think about what we're seeing here, and Gavin Newsom is actually doing it much differently than they're doing it in Texas. Two things about the Texas thing that bother me. The first thing is that Governor Hot Wheels, is fining those Democratic lawmakers that left the state, what, $500 a day? What do they make, $600 a month, bro?
yeah, it's just,
$600 a month.
yeah.
Right?
The job is remarkably low paying.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There is no glory in it. And number two, it's awfully presumptuous of them to think that those new 5 districts with primarily Latina voters are going to turn their way. Vada Latino, where are you?
No,
Right?
they definitively are making the bet that they
Right.
won Latino voters and are going to keep Latino
winning.
voters.
Yep.
They do not see the slippage. They're betting on it and banking on it. And I don't.
Big time.
I wonder. I would hope not. It seems counterintuitive to me. It seems unlikely to me. But
Yep.
you're the only one who calls me a political analyst or consultant or whatever term you gave. I don't know. What are we missing? What are we missing because the GOP rarely gets that wrong. When they
Right.
bet on voters, they tend to get them and
Right.
hold them. And they tend to know how to play. Like, hey, they know the gerrymandering game.
Yes, and they're good at it.
They're good at it.
Good at it. So, but Gavin Newsom is taking it to the people, right? He's going to put it on the ballot in
Yeah.
November.
Special election. Yep.
Yeah, special election, going to let the people decide. And at least still engaging in a democratic process where in D.C. we're seeing signs or people are out at night holding up signs saying fascists go home, right? Like, how can these people be walking the streets of the District of Columbia? We haven't had any shootouts. We haven't had any altercations with the law. We haven't had any violent standoffs. We haven't had any carjackings that were interrupted, right? Like, what are these crime fighters doing? Where's the crime that they're supposed to be fighting?
Yeah, we had the hoagie thrower. But I really would like to see. I would like to see some enhanced civil disobedience, both in California, in D.C. Really, for anyone that sees National Guardsmen, particularly,
Yeah,
totally out of their element, being called up to do something totally illegal, unethical, and un-American. To start having the citizens really calling them out on a personal basis.
Right.
And basically just telling them, hey, what are you doing here? What
Right.
you're doing is un-American. What you're doing is wrong. You don't just take orders. You don't just follow orders. That's what the Nazis did in 1938, right? I wanted to, let's start making these National Guardsmen think about the act. Let's start putting some shame on the act of patrolling American streets.
Yeah.
It's a small piece. It's you're not going to get hit over the head with the butt of their gun, right? They're not going to do it.
Right.
There's no threat of violence coming your way just for, providing some commentary to these troops.
And Brock, it's not the American way to not think, to not stand in protest, to not object. And these are again, I'll keep saying it as long as we've got the record button to push. These are your neighbors. These are your friends and your family. These are people you work with. These are your colleagues, your contemporaries. Like, why are you out here basically terrorizing people? I mean, Brock, you remember when the National Guard was out after 9/11, right? With good reason. But remember how scary it was,
Yeah.
right? Remember how frightening that prospect was to know that we were under attack, right? The only saving grace we had was to know that our National Guardsmen and our military.
Yeah, our forces were out.
Were
We
here to
hoped.
protect
We
us.
hoped. We knew they couldn't really stop bombs, but it
Right.
was something, right? It was
Right.
maybe something. It was at least a representation that there
Right.
was an attempt. But we were really afraid of everything back then, right?
Exactly.
in subs. But yeah, I think we're going to have to make the actual individuals have their own personal gut check. And also, I mean, I have no qualms about making them feel embarrassed about the task that they've been handed
Yeah.
and following through on that task and, letting them know that what they're doing, the rest of us consider what they're doing to be authoritarianism. And that you know, they're literally the pawns on the board executing what we believe to be an undemocratic anti-freedom agenda of an authoritarian regime.
No
And
doubt.
there's they got to make a choice. We all got to make choices in life, right?
Yes.
I would make the choice to tell them that they're doing the wrong thing, and then they get to make the choice whether they want to continue doing it or not, right?
Absolutely. We need to ridicule them as well. We need to ridicule them. And the brass that are sending them into these neighborhoods, right? To disturb people. Again, Donald Trump has interrupted our quality of life like no other president in history. Right? We've had bad economic times, right? But we haven't felt as helpless, right? Like you go to the grocery store, what is it? 53% of Americans feel like the price of groceries is a huge source of stress. Might I remind you, stress kills, right? Plus the other stuff you got going on in your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So no other president has impacted our quality of life like this moron has. And it's so ridiculous that even his own people can see it, right? The Joe Rogans of the world, the practical guy, right? Joe Rogan is new money. Okay, Joe Rogan didn't come from old money, right? He fought his way to
Mm-hmm.
the top, literally, right? Fought his way to the top. Now he has, used to have the most popular podcast going,
Yeah.
$100 million deal, whatever he gets. And, he's pissed off about it. You know why? Because he can relate to the everyday American. He can relate to the people in his family who are still struggling wherever the hell he came from, right? Because not everybody is born with a silver spoon. And Republicans know that. And they don't care about those people. And that's the issue here, right? Because it's us against them. It's the 1% against everybody else. And think about it, Brock. Even if you're in the top 2 to 5%, right? You're a couple of paychecks away, especially if you're brown. You're a couple of paychecks away from cashing in your retirement to pay your mortgage while you're out of work. And when you get to that pay level, remember how difficult it is to find work that pays the same, right? It's hard to stay at the same pay grade when you're on the beach and you're trying to get off, right? People want to know, why'd you get fired? Why'd you get let go? You were making 300K. Who let you go? Were you incompetent? Yeah, we'll pass. So I'm just saying, our quality of life, our health care, our ability to take care of our families, everything is impacted. Everything is impacted. And if you don't believe me, Google it. Google it. The numbers show Americans aren't traveling. People definitely ain't traveling here, so it's impacting people's businesses. Look at the hotels. Look at the bars. Look at the recreation spaces. Right? Look at these places that are struggling because of one D minus fucking student with no backbone, with no sack, right? Who got deferment to keep from serving in our U.S. military at a time of need, right? And that, isn't it ironic how quick he is to pull the military, right? To pull the military card, and he was afraid.
Yeah, it's just another pawn on his board where he doesn't care about any of them. The tough part is though that there are some serious fanatics, some of them pretty smart, that are behind him, pulling the strings and just allowing his worst instincts run rampant and rile up the people, hopefully a shrinking group of people, but maybe not, to make these drastic changes that are like way outsized relative to the slim majority he won by, if he actually even won. But hey,
Exactly.
it's on us to fight every battle. We're happy that Gavin Newsom, is doing a very quick follow through and in essence a really strong counterpunch. We've been talking about where are the counterpunches. This is a really strong counterpunch because this will just, anything they're doing in Texas and what now DeSantis says he's going to try to do in Florida, like all these red states are going to scramble to gerrymander. But, Newsom has a strong hand. He's got a lot of seats out there.
Right, and it's going to backfire on somebody like DeSantis. First of all, DeSantis is not smart. I don't know that anybody in Florida in that leadership position, in those positions of leadership, are smart enough to figure this thing out and figure out how it actually works. Do they even know what gerrymandering is?
I don't know.
Florida man will probably have to weigh in on it. But it's going to backfire because American people are going to say, hey, if these guys have such good policies, why do they have to cheat to win? If they believe in what they're doing is so good for Americans, why are they cheating? Right? Why are they rigging elections? Why is it a rigged elections? Every election, Trump has screamed, it's rigged. It's rigged.
I mean,
why are you rigging it, bro?
It should be easy for the Democrats to label
Right.
this MAGA movement
Yep.
as cheaters and liars, right? Because you got the cheating from the gerrymandering, and you got, first of all, Trump's a pathological liar.
Oh my God.
What you have the lying with the Epstein files. And that's where Trump can get hurt on the lying, because none of the explanations for not releasing the files hold any water, right? It just doesn't make any sense. JD Vance can go on TV and say, there's a lot of Democrats in there. Then it's like, okay, release the files. You think there's a lot of Democrats in there? We'll take it. We'll see. Let's see who it is, right?
Right.
Or we don't want to protect the innocents and the victims. But the victims are all out in public making statements that they want everything released. So that doesn't hold water, right? So there's no really good argument that's been able to hold up for not releasing these tapes. And the Obama/Biden/Clinton doctored these files and put fake stuff in there. That just hasn't there's no traction with that lie. That lie's just not good enough. So between the cheating and lying, that's a pretty good way to tarnish your opponents. In simplistic terms that even the dumbest of the dumb American can get their arms around.
And Brock, they circle back again today to Dr. Fauci. Tulsi Dum Dum Gabbard announced an investigation into Dr. Fauci. What are you looking for? What did he do besides save the lives
which part?
of millions?
Was it the discovery of an AIDS? Was it discovery of a cure for AIDS, or the fact that we actually, got a vaccine here and saved lives after having the worst response in the world to COVID because our president wanted to inject bleach, but we actually had a scientist that said, hey, you know what? We actually have to follow the science and we have to develop vaccines as fast as possible, and millions of people are alive today because of that. It's all distraction junction, and I just don't think it's that good. I don't think it's grabbing the American public. Could be wrong, but I don't think the QAnon crazies are going to be distracted that easily. I feel like they got their teeth sunk into this one.
And Brock, that's it. That's all they have. All they have is the conspiracy theories, right? What else are they going to do, right? What else is on the conspiracy list, right? Nothing. It's Epstein, from 1 to 26, from A to Z. That's it. And until they get answers, right, they're not just going to go away because Trump wants it. He's been waving them off now for months. They're not going away. And like you said, we've got another victim coming on Nicole Wallace's show today. She was teasing that earlier, coming out to make sure, that people understand what was done.
Or what actually happened. Yeah.
Women. Yes. We need to know how the most prolific sex trafficker of children, young girls, was allowed to operate with impunity for so long. And we need to know who helped him. We need to know who paved the way, who let him in and out of American airspace, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and Epstein Island is down there in the Virgin Islands. So I don't know that it's an international crime, but you damn sure crossed state lines. You damn sure went into international waters, right? So, the other guy we need to call, Alex Acosta. Who knows more about the sweet deal that Epstein got and everything that he did than Alex Acosta? Because
Yeah.
remember, the Palm Beach County Police Department had an investigation and they turned over all their notes to Acosta, to the feds, thinking the feds will handle it.
I
And
was
they
just,
did.
yeah. Mark, I was a skeptic on this when you were really pounding on it, over the last couple of months and thinking how I thought it would go away. I thought Trump would just be able to bullshit his way around it and everyone would forget
Right.
about it and this and that. And you were like, no, this one's not going away. This one's not going away. I had an interesting conversation with a friend today. Totally apolitical. Absolutely really smart guy.
Right.
Totally apolitical, reminding me today that he didn't vote in the last election as like almost like a brag, like for his credibility as not caring and hating politics.
Right.
It always bothers me, right? You can imagine the conversations we get in, right? Come around like that quote, right, where you may not care about politics, but politics cares about you. Or I give this speech that like politics is just the outgrowth of society. There have to be some rules. Do you think society shouldn't have rules? Do you want just the wild, wild west? Do you think we should just maybe be clans? But even the clans would have a hierarchy. So politics, I just try to explain to him that like politics is a necessary evil of human beings forming a society and agreeing on what the rules of society are going to be. And hopefully it makes for a more peaceful coexistence with the end goal of living happier, healthier, longer lives. Like, okay, we may not like, quote, everything that goes on with politics, money in politics, but it's like a necessary evil of human beings' interaction. Anyway, that speech goes on deaf ears. He doesn't care to hear it. But today, after bragging about and reminding me he hadn't voted and how much he hates politics, he goes, Brock, I have to admit, this Epstein thing is really bothering me. And he hit on the one thing, he was like, the lying. There's just so much lying. So, even for a person who actively avoids anything political, doesn't read it, look at it, spend a second on it, the Epstein's broken through, even to this guy, to this now bothering him to the point that he can't let it go.
Yep, I believe it. And so, as I look back on it and those conversations we were having about whether or not it's going to get away, it's that proves my point right there, right? That guy has to have some women in his life that he cares about, right? He might have a daughter or two, might have a mother, right? Might have a wife, right? Who at one point, they were all young girls. And who can imagine that happening? I have a granddaughter, right? The most precious thing in my world. I can't imagine, 9, 10, 11, 12 years from now when she's 13 years old, somebody trafficking her, somebody throwing a bunch of money at her and telling her if she gets pregnant, take care of it, right? The disgusting sound of that, right? The fact that that is in court documents by our orange tub of goo president, John Doe 174, is just disgusting. We're not worthy of much better, right? The United States, we don't deserve to be on the world stage. We don't deserve to call ourselves the leaders of the free world with a goon like that at the helm, right? With a 34 count convicted felon
already. But this is so much bigger than what he got convicted for, right? Because like the entrapment, just think of the deceit and the entrapment that went on with the young women, how they got like sucked into this, right? They weren't like volunteering, right? They didn't come in for job interviews like, oh, I want to be a 14-year-old prostitute to, to wealthy men and get, right?
signs up for
And get
that.
raped. Yeah, right? They all got tricked into it. Yeah, it's I'm believing more and every day the staying power of this story, and it really has to stay, you started off the conversation about how, the left needs to make fun of Trump all the time, right? Mock him right back. And that's what Newsom did so well, has done so well, and did well again today. But I think along with that has to just be this steady drumbeat of what Nicole Wallace is doing tonight and all that, of just constantly asking for the files and finding for ways to either have votes, subcommittee votes, get it on the official docket, just get it in the news every which way, both the social news and the political news, and just keep the story out there.
Yep. Because they can't stay on recess forever. Mike Johnson is doing the best he can. Mike Johnson is probably the worst of the worst when it comes to this bunch. Because right now, he's the main accomplice, right, to help Trump hide, from accountability. And he does it, under the guise of the church. And
he's the God-fearing.
Yeah, it makes you really want to knock him out.
He's got a weird story too that no one's uncovered yet, right? With the no bank account and the young black man that I think he adopted. It's like just like Matt Gaetz had one of those weird stories. There's something that doesn't sound or feel right about his whole backstory that hasn't emerged yet. But it might also be a reason why he's such a staunch protector of the Epstein files and the Trump situation, right? He doesn't want digging to be successful, right? Because he's probably worried he could be next.
Right. And that's again, and this is where you fault the media, but why is no one digging? We used to, right? These are the kinds of stories we used to run people down on the sidewalk for and say, why won't you answer our questions about your adopted child?
I know. Is there no money in it? Does it take too long and no one wants to invest in it anymore? I mean, we know the mainstream media doesn't even want to show it, right? Because it could upset Trump and affect their business one way or another.
Right.
But I guess, maybe there's not as much local journalism.
And that's the problem. He's snuffed it out, right? He's turned it into fake news. Fake news. Can't believe it. But, at the same time, we've got enough voices out here, the Jennifer Welches, right? The iHip News podcast, right? The Joe Rogans, right? The Adam Mocklers, right? The David Hoggs, the young people that are coming up are making sure that their voices are heard, and they are reaching huge audiences, right? Tabitha Speaks, reaching huge audiences. The Native Land Pod with Angela Rye and Andrew Gillum, reaching a lot of people. So on both sides, we've got conversations going that they can't diffuse, right? So we're giving it to you straight with no chaser. You don't believe us? Google it. You don't think what we're saying is true? Google it. We don't have to make shit up. There's too much good shit out there already on Trumpster and Trumpstein that we don't have to make it up.
Well, I got to say, today actually was a day that felt, I don't want to say good, but pretty good, because Newsom kind of took hold of the country's attention to a certain extent, right? And Trump didn't get anything really bad done today that I can remember, because hopefully he's on his way to Alaska for the big Friday shit show with Putin. So we got to see what embarrassment on the international stage we get tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Hopefully he's got himself in a box. I'm not sure how he comes back from that meeting, delivering something to the American people that the American people feel good about.
It's a wag.
Yeah. I mean, for tomorrow, he'll have everyone's attention on him. He'll be happy about that. But I got to say, in a perverse way, I'm looking forward to any press conference that they have tomorrow.
Yeah. It'll be a total joke, but I hope somebody brings up the Epstein files in front of Vladdy. And let's see what happens, because Vladdy still got the PP tapes.
I was going to say, Vladdy would probably have a smirk with a little head.
Because if Trump pisses him off, the PP tapes are coming out.
Yeah, but I worry for Ukraine tomorrow. I really worry for Ukraine. So if I'm Zelensky, I'm not sleeping tonight. I'm really worried about what goes down tomorrow. But today we chipped away at Trump a little bit. But now we got to chip away at all those National Guardsmen and ICE and the like, and there has to be a public embarrassment and shame that goes on for those troops that are walking our streets,
Yes, sir.
patrolling our neighborhoods for absolutely no fucking reason.
Yes, sir. Quick hit for you.
What do you got for me?
The NFL says they will continue their messaging of social justice in the end zones this season.
Meaning the end racism will be in the back of the end zone again?
So the 32 redneck owners are going to say, oh, yeah, end racism. But don't you dare speak up, you black and brown players. But if our white players and our white coaches should decide to speak up on some or speak out or wear a MAGA hat on a nationally televised football game, that's okay. But we want to end racism.
Okay. And Mike Tomlin and the guy in the Dolphins is mixed race. So we got two. We have how many black coaches do we have in the league now?
Yeah,
we're going to end racism, but we're not going to hire anybody. Yeah. We're not going to hire any black coaches, but we're going to end racism.
We're going to pay attention to the Rooney Rule, right? We're not even paying attention to the Rooney Rule anymore, right? And so, these black coaches get one shot. Brian Flores' case is going, to court. He's taking the NFL, to court for that discrimination suit. Mm-hmm. And he's still coaching in the league. I think he was last at Minnesota. I'm not sure where he is now.
Lovie Smith should have had a fucking head coach lawsuit, right? Guy was like, he actually won like 9 games in Chicago, right? They haven't won 9 games in 3 years since they fired him. But It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough.
Exactly. But you see them recirculating and regurgitating the same white coaches again, again and again and again, right? So, I mean, the NFL's
okay. So, but I did not see that. Find it interesting. Curious as to why they're doing it, except for like bullshit, propaganda. All right, I'm gonna look into that. I'll have more to say on it tomorrow. Cool. It's a good quick hit. I wasn't ready for that one.
All right, you got anything for me?
No, we're good for today. I'm basking in the glory of the California dreaming out there, the mockery.
No doubt. I'm going to have to order me an LA Dodgers hat just because. And they used to be in Brooklyn, so it's all good. I'm still embracing the New York in us. All right, my friend, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Mark. I will speak to you tomorrow.
All right, stay loud and proud. Peace.